Okay, hi Silvia.
Ciao Nika.
Hi. So we are basically having this conversation like a couple of hours before launching our campaign, a couple of
Yes.
hours before the beginning of signature collection. We were joking before that we both have a feeling that we are feeling looking terrible because we have been working nonstop in preparation of this campaign. So basically we are here because we want to get safe and accessible abortion throughout the Europe. But my first question for you is like, why did you join this crazy campaign? How did you decide to be part of this huge movement?
Look, I had a good feeling with you, I think. No, it's important. I think that the we have joined the French Italians that are part of the campaign. I've joined because this project looks the idea of this project looks amazing, and it is very important in this moment because of the quite different situation that we have between France and Italy, to fight for for having an access to abortion for all women. And then yes, I think that it was also because of the Slovenian team. The 8th of March Institute is an amazing collective. So, as usual, I think in activism, very often the human component of what we are doing, it's extremely important because on those fights, on the sleepless night that we have to go through because this campaign is crazy, we also have to have a good feeling with the people that we are fighting for and with. So yeah, this is mainly those are the reasons that brought me into this campaign.
Yeah. And I also think that like we all have like this common passion for joy and like having a lot of fun while we are doing stuff. But before we come to fun things, like I wanted to speak with you a little bit about Italy. Like I have this weird obsession with Giorgia Meloni where I am watching every step she is making and how she is tricking everyone that she's like a good politician, kind politician, but actually like she's supporting like fascism. She's like one of the worst advocates against LGBT rights. We know that she wanted to forbid Peppa Pig because she thought that this cartoon is too much for kids. And she also started to play with abortion rights in Italy. So how do you see her? How do you see situation in Italy? And how do you see situation with abortion in Italy?
Look, as you know, now I'm based in France, but I have started my activism, and I'm still very in contact with Italy for everything that concern women rights. I am going to Roma on 2 days because we have several things to fight for in Italy. The abortion is the thing that she pulled out of her hat now. The few weeks before, it was the lesbian mothers' rights. I think that it's an horrible situation. I think that Meloni and her far right government and majority are using this technique that it's always very effective to jump on any situation that is top on the scores of visibility for many different reasons because of actual things that happen on the news or because of the political discussion, and they jumped on it and then they use it to create a buzz, and then being able to gain interest and votes on their campaign. So now for the abortion is again the same mess. It's they are using some spaces that are in between laws and this kind of gray zones to open the to break the situation that it's quite clear in Italy the abortion is legal. and they are playing on this small unclear thing to make a big buzz and convince even more Italians, and especially doctors and gynecologists, that abortion is maybe something that we should think twice or three times, or use our consciousness and not perform abortion, which is the main problem today in Italy. So doctors are very few doctors accept to perform abortion. So even if it's a right, very few women are an easy path to access abortion. Half of the Italian hospitals are not able to perform any abortion, and this new wave of saying, Meloni said, okay, the pro-choice should have the right to demonstrate into the hospitals. So this is now the new buzz and the new situation in Italy. So I am personally going there to demonstrate in front of the government now at the end of the week.
Yeah, and basically, like our suggestion that, like, for which we are collecting signatures, is also helping women in Italy, because it's not just about countries where abortion is forbidden, but it is also about countries where people don't have access to abortion because of the doctors, because of the pressure which is focusing on them, and because of the measures like the last one which Meloni gave, like to allow pro-choice groups to put pressure in the hospitals on the people.
Yeah, but I think that Meloni and far right governments play their battle on the women body, and so we have to guarantee the right of Italian women to have a reimbursement on their travels to to have a safe abortion somehow, because the Meloni government don't care about their health, don't care about their security, don't care, of course, about them being able or not to spend money to travel and to find an hospital that is able to perform an abortion. So it's a very dangerous situation in Italy, and it's not, of course, not only for women that want to perform abortion. Today, it's also for lesbian women. They are the government is trying to erase the name of the second mother from the birth certificate. So they are not only, of course, playing on the bodies of the women, they are also playing on the bodies of those kids that will find their birth certificates amputated of half of their families. So it's really a very complicated and disturbing and worrisome situation in Italy.
Yeah, I was living in Rome in the time of the elections in Italy. Like for 2 months, I was there and like watching what is happening. And for me, like one of the scariest moments was that I had a feeling that people do not know what is actually happening to them. That they thought that they're like voting for something else. And that basically for me, it was like, in those scary movies when a few people knows that like something will fall on earth, but others are dancing around. Like this was my feeling in Italy.
Yeah, I don't know. My Italian friends are my Italian friends are very aware of what is happening in Italy, and I think that it's complicated to talk about not knowing. I see what you mean, but I mean, she's not coming from a right wing party. She's coming from a far right history of people that have brought fascism to Europe. I will say a few years ago, but not a long time ago. So yeah, I understand what you mean, but I think that there is maybe it's not in consciousness. It's really that probably women's right or children's right or migrant rights, they are not so important in our minds when we are struggling for 20 years with an economical crisis.
Yeah.
And so to to sacrifice some of us and the right of some of us. Less scaring that being afraid of not being able to earn enough money to keep surviving in this world. Maybe, but this is my interpretation.
Yeah. It's a good interpretation and also a scary one. Um, so, if we move a little bit from Italy, you are living now
Yes.
in France,
Yeah.
and I didn't tell anything yet about you and like your work before. So you have the most like badass history. Like you were a rocket scientist, and then you decided to start changing the world. Can you tell a little bit more about like yourself, like how, like what was your correct career at the beginning and how you decided to do all this crazy stuff with us?
Yeah, I started. I'm trained. I am trained. I followed. I passed. Even I was. I had a diploma from a university that goes like space engineering. So I am a space engineer or a rocket scientist, and I was working for almost 20 years in the French space agency, like the French NASA. And I think I was working mainly on trying to escape somewhere else on my mind, of course, unconsciously or consciously. I didn't really thought that I will ever be able to escape from hurt. And at one point, because I was always also being a volunteer, an activist in the political field, in the lesbian field, at one point I have decided that I did a lot in the with my job. I was very happy of every achievement and the things that we were able to develop and to finish with my colleagues, and I have stopped. And I have decided that maybe the rest of my life or part of my life, I will use it to be a full time political activist. And this is what I am doing right now. We have created with some comrades and friends an organization, a European organization, which is called EuroCentralAsian Lesbian Community. And we are fighting for lesbian rights. All around Europe and Central Asia, and we also try to create some kind of great coordination with lesbian communities in all different regions, in Latin America, in Africa, in Asia. We have a very, 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 very interesting work. Even I will say somehow much interesting than being a rocket scientist. At one point you start repeating the rocket science is always flying to the moon, and then you are there. So I think that this new adventure is even funnier.
Yeah, and basically, like you all the time, like build new things, like networks, international solidarity, like connecting different like movements, helping them to get resources to basically work on the stuff that are needed. Why do you think it's important that we go out of our national contexts?
It was complicated to start this project of having a lesbian NGO that oversees or try to connect lesbians in Europe, and then we extended to Central Asia because our comrades from Central Asia, they asked us to be part of our network because of their strategical situation and the difficult position between two big countries that are quite scaring towards LGBTI rights. But I think that it was very interesting to at one point be able to go over or to go out of the national borders, be it in Italy when I was Italian when I was working in Italy, be it France, because the fact of going above or beyond the borders give you a lot of very interesting takes in the political journey that we are making. The first one is that we can take the experiences or compare the experiences or the knowledge of activists that are coming from very different backgrounds and very different situations that are struggling very often about the same topics. So it's very strange to recognize that myself here in France and my friend that is living in Kazakhstan, we are kind of similar fights. Of course, the social situation, the legal situation are not the same, but we are fighting against a kind of a very similar enemy. So this information, this experience strengthen us and can also teach us a lot of interesting new skills and new ways of resisting. And then there is also the thing that being more and having more support from all around those different countries, it's really a strength. And in activism, the worst thing is when you feel probably powerless because you are alone. Of course, not only in activism, but in all kind of struggles. And when you go above, or when you try to do an action, a project on a European level, you have the support of all the crazy activists that are doing the same job in every country. And here for our campaign, I am always having in my mind the Polish folks that are totally crazy and totally amazing. And every day I think of them. Every day I think of the your youth Slovenian. Every day I'm thinking about the Spanish. And I am, yes, of course, I have to restart up to the day and then kick asses for the rest of my journey, because they are doing the same somewhere. So it's a very empowering sensation. And then of course there are all the links with Europe and the European frame of politics, policies, and the European election. So something mechanisms that we cannot access from just one country. We have to be a lot of different countries to be able to enter this sphere.
Yeah, and also like what I found really amazing with your work is, for example, when Meloni started to mess up with like lesbian matters, like you organized an international action of support in front of different embassies.
Yeah, yeah. It's really stronger to have a reaction and a solidarity in different regions and in different countries. It changed a lot the perception of every kind of community, especially community that are not so powerful and represented, like for example lesbian community within the LGBTI more mainstream movement. So it was amazing to be able to collaborate with our friends in Italy and the Italian lesbians, and to be able to also to explain to them we can gather the support of every European country. We can have people, not a lot of people, but very motivated people, to go in front of every Italian embassy and make a mess and disturbing them and stopping them from working and having the media talk about it. And it's really effective, and without asking for a lot of resources. If some It's something that can really make the difference, because now we are going back again with this new interior minister that is trying again to appeal on the judgment of the courts. So putting the pressure again, re-putting the pressure, and so they can feel more protected also from a European point of view.
And another thing which I recognize, like with how you work, is also that all the values that you have, that like everyone needs to be heard, that like we need to be equal in a society, that we need to allow others to take space and not to take up too much space, are actually something that you are also living. Like that you, if too many men speaks, you will say, hey, like we need to let others to speak. And I think this is so rare in the activism that we actually live like what we are saying. Like, how do you think that you develop that kind of like attitude to just basically set the things like how they are and like try to make them as we want them to be?
Yeah, so you were speaking about this moment where we were both, me and you, at a meeting with some also men on the place, and at one point we started talking. The meeting started discussing about. I think it was about not techniques, but really about numbers and tools and things like that. And so I don't know why all of a sudden all those guys started to talk between themselves and respond, and then there were another one, another one, another one. And so all the women in the room were okay. why they are all speaking with themselves like and it's very typical, and we looked at each other, me and you, and I told you so, and you tell me, no, no, tell, and so I intervene, but in a nice way, like to tell them, in France we have this way of working, it's called zip, so there is one guy and one woman, and it's mandatory to change, not mandatory forever, meaning that if there are two, three, four, five women that speak, good, but if there is one man, then there is one woman, because of the power struggle. So I think that for me it's very natural, in the sense that I am used to work with lesbians, and lesbians for us means lesbian with an asterisk. So we work with trans lesbian, with non-binary people, with women, but it's a kind of separatist space by definition. And so it's very strange for me when there start to be one guy speaking, but it's fine, okay, of course, but it sounds strange because I am used to always hear the words of women of every different minority. So for me it already sounds strange when there is a guy, but when there is another guy who responds, it's almost unbearable, meaning that all of a sudden it's clear in my mind that we have to do something, because if not they will continue speaking about money, technical or political decision, because it's their own domain. They get excited on it, and they naturally occupy all the space. So the space for women shrink back again, even if in this meeting there are or there were more women than men. We are used to close down as soon as those guys are taking more space. It's not coming from a mean, they are not mean, they are nice people, deconstructed people that really understand things, but it's so natural that it's something that unfortunately we have to work against. And
And
I
what
think that they took it well. They were not mad at me.
No, not at all, not at all. And like we were all so happy after it that you did it. But like one part of like the work that like you are doing with Alice and like with other women in France is also taking up the spaces where women are not invited. Like that it still so often is happening that like we cannot speak at the events, or that like just the men are explaining things to us and we are listening. And this part of like taking the space is like I think one of the crucial moments of activism, like that you are there to be loud, that you dare to speak up, but it comes with a lot of shit. Like how are you dealing with all the shit that this is bringing, and like where do you find motivation to continue to fight?
I think that for me, but I am dealing with all this shit with thanks and with the help of the community, and the community is the group of people working with me in something. I think that for me, the being isolated, it's one of the things that are the most hurtful, and that are taking out all my energy. When I was a space engineer, the problem was exactly that I was quite isolated, because there are not a lot of women, and of course among not a lot of women, there are not a lot of women that have also the patience and the time and the skills to do a kind of a political performance about their presence there. So it was, I was feeling quite alone, and now the strength is coming from the community, is coming from you and the others looking at each other and saying, oh, there is a problem, maybe let's reopen the space. So yeah, in my activism, I think that is it are my comrades, my friends of journey, are the ones that are giving me the power, sometime to breathe, or sometime to say, okay, we go back and we fight. And I think that what you were mentioning at the beginning is the funny part, the joy, the laughing, is the most important part of what we are doing. For me, it's what gives me back the oxygen, is laughing about a stupid joke, or sometimes not in a very political correct way, but when you are tired, you are also going above the limits. But but no, I'm joking. We are very smart also in laughing, but it's to share those moments also of fun and of joy, because this is the base of activism. We can only refuel ourselves in joy.
One of the things that we always say in the institute is that when we laugh, we scare the enemy away because they are just not used of like having fun and laughing and like doing stuff. Like if you could choose like one moment which like gives you hope, or one story which is inspiring you, like from your fights, like do you have like a special fight that you took and like you won, or it was so good that like you always come back and you say like, oh, if we did this, like we can do all next steps?
Oh, this is an interesting question, because I always see activism the other way around. For me, activism is losing and failing and trying to cope with. Because I am a very melancholic person, so I think that I see it in this way. And the things that makes me happy is exactly imagining how, even while losing, we were laughing like crazy. So, for example, the campaign for the in vitro insemination here in France always make me laugh, because they were voting a packaging. The government promised to present a packaging, and in this packaging there were, of course, same-sex marriage, adoption rights, and in vitro insemination for lesbians. And among all the pack, of course, the one that dropped out and was not passed and was not even presented is the in vitro insemination. So the lesbians and the single mother were out of the package in the negotiation for with the conservative forces of the country. And we invented so many crazy things to cope with that and to demonstrate and to laugh about it. For example, we were singing we want the right, but we don't really want the kids. We were doing all this stupid demonstration, but very funny. So even if it was not at that time a win, we had to wait 10 additional years to be able to conceive kids with your lesbian partner or as a single woman. It was very funny to laugh as crazy about how this world is changing and how slowly it is changing.
Yeah. One of the most common answers. So basically, for the campaign, when we started to search for the people who will join us in our journey, was like that people said we won't be part of this at the beginning because like you will fail. And for me, it was like, I mean, like if we fail, like we will fail better next time, and like let's keep trying. And like you and Alice, like with whom I already had a conversation, like um both said like, yes, let's try it, like let's do it, like and I think this is something that I really really appreciate about you and both of you together.
And you know that at one point we were calling each other the 49%, because every political campaign, because now lately we did some political campaigns also, we always arrived at the last round losing by, I don't know, 100 votes, and we did 49 point, na, na. So we were calling at one point ourselves the 49%.
Yeah, and the fight is still worth it, like worth of fighting.
It
Okay,
is.
it always is. And like so now we have like in front of us there is this crazy month of like collecting signatures, of like doing actions everywhere. My first question is there something that you are afraid of? Is there something that you are scared of in the next month? And then I have the second question.
No, I am not afraid. While I have some friends that are more preoccupied, or they are saying, oh, we will never do it. I have no fear of not being able to achieve the target number of signature even in a short time. So I have no doubt about that. I think that the only thing that we should be a little bit careful of is to try to not burn out us so much. But there are also some ways and moments to try to recover after the European election. And I think that the European election are so important because it will shape the face of the political face of Europe during the next 5 years. So I think it's worth fighting until the end, and doing this campaign and collecting all going out and collecting all these million signature very very fast, because then we will have to live with this new European Parliament for a long time, and it can be it can be worst. It can They can reduce the heads, the help that the resources that they are distributing to the civil society. They can It's already not a lot, but it can even be reduced, and it can be changed. It can be given to other civil movements that are not so progressive. And so I really think that it will be at least 2.5, 3 months of fight, but I'm not worried at all.
European elections, like we have like a possibility to get like a crazy Europe in sense of far right, like we saw like the fascist gatherings in Italy, we saw like what was happening in Germany, we saw how quick this can be. And we are also saying, as you said, like it's important for who we vote because they will also decide about our bodies, about reproductive rights. And a huge part of what we are doing is like inviting people to the elections. And my question is like based like what are your criteria how to decide who will get your vote?
Phew. This is a difficult question. I think that the first criteria, I am sorry, it's the environmental engagement, an open and very frank and very outspoken environmental engagement, because this is the part of the work I cannot do, because I mean, I am working, I am concentrating and able to focus on other subject in my life. So when I go to vote, I don't know why, for a strange reason, I have to vote for something that I don't have the time um, um, to demonstrate, to work on more from a civil society point of view. So environmental justice, and then of course the engagement for anti-racism and feminism, and if these three aspects are there, I will try to give a vote to one candidate or one coalition party that it's supporting that. Then I am very, very critical on the political party system in France and in Italy. So I am a little bit more, yeah, worried about their way of deciding for candidates. And I think that also there should be a lot of work performed. How can you find candidates that are also really representing minorities? Not because it's just nice to have minorities represented, but especially because those candidates, the candidates coming from minority, are the only body that will be able to oppose the far right into the political scene, into the political arena. So yeah, I think environmental justice, anti-racism, and feminism.
Nice, these are good criteria. Last question is like crazy months ahead, like elections campaign, what are you looking forward the most?
To survive.
Why?
No, that we always think about that. Our friends in the 90s. I'm a little bit older now, and I live also through the LGBTI activism in the 90s, and I have started being an activist with the HIV crisis in Europe, and our gay friends were saying a good activist is an activist alive. And of course for them it meant really literally that, the thing. And but I this sentence stays in my mind all the time, and so I think that, that I really look forwards all the fights, and I look forwards for the also the phase when we will say, okay, we did it, we are all there, we are good, we are ready for the next fight.
Yeah. I need to admit that I woke up today totally scared. Like for me, it was the first day of total panic because like we started midnight and I'm like, oh my God, like what if everything goes wrong? What if like we won't do like anything right? And I had like a huge problem of going into the office, starting my day and being like, okay, let's do the final things that we need to do today. And this conversation helped me a lot to breathe and to be like, at least we will have a good laugh about it. Whatever happens, like we will be in this craziness together. Thank you so much for talking with me and see you soon in Paris, I hope.
Yeah, sure. See you, Nika. Thanks to you. Thank you for everything that you are doing.
Yeah, and to you also. Yeah, so that's it. And like, please sign the initiative.